Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me today. You're having a pretty busy year, but I feel like you have pretty busy years all the time.
There's busy and I'm fine with busy in the studio. It's when there's a lot of travel as well. I feel a little bit, oh, and there's been a lot going on recently between different projects and touring and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, and I mean, like you just earlier this month had your score for the Inside the Manosphere documentary come out, and you've got Pretty Lethal dropping tomorrow as we talk.
you staying up until midnight to watch it?
Probably not, but we'll definitely be watching it as soon as I get off work tomorrow. I'm very excited about this movie, and especially the fact that you're tackling the score on it because I feel like it speaks to like everything you know how to do well. What was it like scoring like a big Amazon like action movie?
It's insane. Like the whole movie is just freaking insane. And like Vicky, the Jewson, the wonderful director, she described it as batshit crazy, right? And she says, "Paul, you're batshit crazy. The film's batshit crazy. The score's batshit crazy. It's made for you." And I'm going like, I don't know how to feel about that.
And like, what sort of attracted you to the project? Was it the fact that it is batshit crazy, like ballerinas fighting with
Yeah,
ballet techniques?
I mean, I described it to someone halfway along the movie as a ballerina slasher movie because that's what it is, right? And of course, it seems perfectly normal when you've watched it over and over again. And someone says, oh, wait, what? It's a ballerina slasher movie with Uma Thurman and Maddie Ziegler, and I was like, yeah. I was like, oh yeah, I suppose that's not normal, is it? Yeah, I was up at Skywalker Ranch last February, George Lucas's place. I was recording a film up there, and I got a call literally on the way up from the producer saying, Vicky would love to have a chat with you. Would you mind having a look at this? I was like, I can't. You know what it's like at the end of a film.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, I haven't slept for however long. I know every time I speak to people, it's like, I haven't slept. It's just my life. But I was like, look, okay, I'll watch 20 minutes of it. So I got in, downloaded it. The play was not fast enough to download it. So when I got into Skywalker Ranch, downloaded it, watched 20 minutes, watched another 10 minutes, watched another 10 minutes. I couldn't stop watching it. And this is just the rough cut. And suddenly it was 1:30 in the morning. I was recording the orchestra at 9 o'clock the following morning. I was just like, shit, I'm so unprepared. What the oh, God damn it. It was incredible. It literally was one of those ones where I watched it. I was like, I have to do it. And I've heard people say that before and kind of, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get it straight away, sometimes you don't. And I was like, I just had this vision for it. So texted Vicky, who I'd never spoken to before, and said, look, I've got a recording session at 9. If you can literally have a 10-minute call tomorrow morning before I go into the session, I just want you to know, oh my God, I'm so excited at the prospect of doing this. And then phoned her up the next day. The next day's recording sessions were later, and we had a chat, and I was like, look, my vision for this is basically punk rock band meets cyberpunk synths meets full on orchestra. And it's going to be all over the place, but it's not a classical piece like classical ballerina. It's real punk rock vibe. And she was really excited by my thought process, I guess.
Well, like the thing that really sort of intrigued me is the fact that there was a track that you found out that you couldn't actually use and then had to come up with something that would fit because it had already been cut to this particular piece of very famous music.
Yeah, so you got Tchaikovsky and the kind of Sugar Plum Fairy, and it's just like and they said, "Oh, look, we've filmed this. This is one of the end fight sequences." And I said to and Vicky was like, "Oh, we should do a punk thing." I was like, "No, no, no. The punk stuff's going to happen earlier on." And as we get to the end, suddenly the ballerinas are in charge here. They've trained for this all their life, and suddenly, when the girls are kind of performing as a team, this is what it's all about. So they should dance this entire boss fight sequence, 3 minutes, slashing throats. They have blades at the end of their ballet shoes in time. So it's like slash slash da 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 da, and yeah. So they'd filmed all of this to this piece, and it's out of copyright, but they couldn't get permission to use the actual master rights to it, which means that whoever's recorded it. So me and my stupidity just said, "Oh, it's fine. I'll just kind of record it myself." Of course, you suddenly realise that the classical stuff, obviously, it's not to click track yet, so it's not.
Mhm.
It's more like I had to basically reverse engineer this entire track. So you're trying to do, because obviously I've got to record the orchestra, so I've got to do a click track to it, which is how we record the orchestra. But I had to do it to match this piece of music, and then it's the highs and the lows of the classical piece to try and replicate this performance of it. It's freaking impossible, you know. So the score, oh, that's easy, that's fine. But this one flipping track at the end of it took me like weeks, and the producer's like, "Oh, that's great, thanks." I was like, "What do you mean? That's great. That's genius."
Like I had to reproduce, but not Tchaikovsky. Like, please recognize this.
Totally, and I think one of the things that was lovely about that though was that it gave me then the opportunity to do slightly my own thing with it. As I say, I wanted it to be classical, that version at the end, rather than all the kind of craziness before the film. But also, like we had Uma Thurman's there about to explode the building. She's got a detonator in her hand, you know, and at the very end, whereas it doesn't do that in the actual version. So it was quite nice getting to do those little flourishes with some of the kicks and stuff. It was quite nice.
Now, like last year, you did what was it, your eighth or ninth collaboration with Errol Morris?
Yeah, I think it was the eighth. Yeah, what was that? That was Chaos, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
So,
I love the
trying to
fact that
remember. It's been a busy little while.
yeah, and I mean, I love the fact that you bounce between like these very like energetic, crazy films and TV shows as well. And then delving into like documentaries, but the documentaries that you score are topical the topics that that are addressed in this seem to give you a lot of room for experimentation as
Yeah, I
opposed
mean,
to like
I get offered a lot of docs, and I love the documentary art form because it's so incredibly different from the feature films. Um, but sometimes I kind of like, yeah, there's just no room to really do your thing. So I like doing the docs where you can actually sort of almost like the music has its own identity as the third
Mhm.
person. You have obviously the visuals, you have the dialogue going over the top, and I like music actually being a character in these films.
And there are a lot of characters in Inside the Manosphere.
So inside the Manosphere, I wrote with Ross Hamilton, who's a long-term collaborator in Glasgow, and I got in touch with him. He's a wonderful band producer. I said to him, "Look, you know, I'm crazy busy and blah blah blah, but I really want to do this." And Louis Theroux is this fantastic documentarian in the UK, and I never quite know if he's translated into the US or not. I know he has now because the Manosphere has
Yeah,
just
it's
exploded
massive.
everywhere. And the irony of this, isn't it, is that the social media side is the thing that's now exploded with Louis on it, and he's trying to not take them down, but it's his manner is that he gives people enough rope to hang themselves, quite similar to Errol actually. So he doesn't try and sort of assassinate them is the wrong phrase, but you know, he doesn't try and sort
Yeah.
of make them look like assholes on the screen. If they come across like that, that's entirely their doing. He's just genuinely interested, and he does obviously play the whole "oh, I'm a little vague" card. I don't really understand, but he's obviously incredibly bright. But I think with Manosphere, what was interesting about it was the power dynamic because you normally say you have the documentarian and then someone's sitting down or this, but he's interviewing. You know, it all started with Andrew Tate, didn't it? And then it's kind of come down, and all these podcasters, sorry, but like all
But
they had
yeah.
I don't know your leanings, Nick, but yeah, but you know, these people have 20 million followers, 30 million followers, and they come across as actually quite nice people. But you suddenly realize they're just full of shit, and people are given. You know, he says one of them, I think it was HS Tiki Tok, in the middle of one of them. He's like, "Oh yeah, look, not getting out of bed till I got 5,000. Come on, guys, give me 5,000." It's nothing to do with what he's doing. People are sucked into this. Here, have my $50 subscription. So, again, from a point of view of music, it's like, oh, you could do something really interesting with that. I hate signposting. I hate people going, oh, he's bad, or he's happy, or oh, he's sad. So suddenly you're creating a palette for, it was shot in Miami, a lot of it, because that's where a lot of it's based. You're suddenly, hey, Donna Summer, you know, you got the electronic vibe, you got that stuff going underneath it. And I think that's what's quite fun about it.
Now, what I love about the fact that you're doing work for Watson on CBS is it's got you returning to work again with Craig Sweeney, who did the series Limitless, which was a film for which you did the score, and it's just this. the the work you do with regular collaborators, I feel like lets folks really hear what you can do over the course of a period of time. Like I can hear these relationships kind of develop over the years. Like, because I mean, Limitless was almost 15 years ago, right?
Oh, don't you make me feel like a geriatric now? Yeah.
I mean, the same. There's gray hair poking out from underneath the ball cap. But what's it like to give your musical stamp on the Sherlock world?
Before we get onto that, just to talk about collaborators, because I was saying to someone the other day, I've chilled out a lot in the last kind of 4 or 5 years. You always, I think when you start out, you're trying to kind of prove yourself or whatever. And now you actually realize it's not proving yourself, it's just having fun, and you suddenly kind of pick the people that you're working with and like, oh, that project sounds fun. And, oh, I can't spend 6 months with that person, I'm sorry, or whatever. And obviously, it doesn't always work out like that, but you want someone, if you're going to be working 20-hour days for however many months, you want it to be fun. And Craig, I love to pieces. And I remember him saying in Limitless, the TV series, he always felt that I was the only one that he could call at 3 o'clock in the morning because he knew I'm insane and I'd be in here going, like, hey, dude. And it wasn't a case of a tired thing. It was like, oh, I've got these beats that I'm crunching out at the moment. You should hear this. You should hear this. And someone said, oh, how long are you going to do Limitless for? And it's like, until I run out of beats, which is never. And I think Craig got in touch and we have, he's quite into thrash metal and, Anthrax, and then you've got the lighter stuff like Iron Maiden and Metallica and everything. We went to a John Carpenter gig in October to watch him in LA, and it was quite funny. A lot of it was guitar based. I was expecting it all to be synths. But I love it when showrunners have such in depth musical knowledge that it's not necessarily what they want for the show, but you're just having a laugh because obviously I like talking music. So, suddenly, to get round to your question about Sherlock, it's like, well, look, Sherlock's been done before so many times. And I don't know if it's out because it's out of copyright or whether it's this, but it's not Sherlock. It's Watson, his trusty sidekick, and Watson is obviously up to date and modern and going around doing his story of the week as a procedural around the hospital. But at the same time, he's also solving clues and he's the detective, and there's through lines that go on. And I think series one was about Moriarty appearing, so it had to kind of stay true to a lot of this kind of folklore of Sherlock. So there was definitely, I had the cymbalom out, which I got through in the live room and kind of hitting that and the hammered dulcimer. And then we got the strings and stuff. But it was quite hard to juxtapose those against what I wanted it to be, which is a very electronic soundtrack for the pace of around the hospital. And season two is great because suddenly, and Larry Tang as well, the series director, we had this chat and it was just like, okay, well, look, Moriarty's gone now, so we don't need to have, and Sherlock appears, Bobby Carlyle, which is great, another Glaswegian. So it's like, yay! I met him on set a couple of weeks ago, but we're like, okay, well, it doesn't have to be so much that. So I really got into using my synthesizer ops and stuff like that. And I think with any composer, what's fun is when you have a long-running show. Yeah, I was speaking to Bear McCreary the other day about Outlander. He's on series 8, and he's like, so,
Yeah.
what am I going to do? I've done series 5 and 6, and you've always got to try and keep it fresh. And it's fun because suddenly you've got the themes. You're like, okay, now I've had a chance to develop the themes. Now I can do an electronic version of that and slightly morph it. And you can start taking risks. And at the start of the series, it's not about taking risks. It's like everybody's head down, just trying to find out what this show is. But it's already out on air. Which sounds utterly bizarre,
Yeah.
doesn't it? It's like, well, it's
Yeah.
on air, but you don't know what the show is. It's like we're trying to find out who the characters are, what they're about. It's the same with the writers. And then after a while, the writers are suddenly writing for the actors because they now imagine who's actually playing it and what their role is. But those first few episodes are really hard. So it's like you get to episode like 106, 107, series 1, episode 6 or 7. And then you want to go back to episode 1 and 2 because it's like, I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and I love the fact that Morris Chestnut is behind you staring at me right now on that
Oh, God.
screen.
Yeah, spoiler alert. No.
Um but like so you like since we've when we last spoke we were talking about Fellow Travelers on Showtime, which was like a very big deal, and since then it feels like you've gotten to do some things that are like even more big deals. Like what's it like reaching this point in your career where suddenly you you you're comfortable And now you're getting like even bigger opportunities.
Never comfortable. Um, Still haven't been found out. Waiting for that to happen tomorrow. It's like
Imposter
no,
syndrome is
I think
real.
we're all the same. It's like it goes back to what I'm saying about confidence. Instead of trying to second guess what people want, which I think anybody at the start of their career does that, unless you're a complete genius because you've been given a job. And I don't really think of it as a job. As I say, we spoke about this before. Yeah, it's a passion. I've never had it. Well, actually, as I say, ironically, the one job I have had is playing piano in a dance school when I was at music college at the conservatoire. So it's like, oh wow, well that served me well. It's come around here. But I think that as you become, it's probably older as well. But as you become more confident in what you do, it's like, yeah, I just let me do my thing. It's kind of like what I was saying with Vicky and Pretty Lethal. It's like if it doesn't work out, that's fine. We can go back to kind of your safe stuff, right? Because a lot of the time they just want to fill up people's minds and the spaces. But it's like if you give me the room to try and be the artist that I am, like any other composer, it's like just let me be the artist that I am because you come to me for a reason. Let me do my vision. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And yeah, we tried it and had a laugh kind of thing. And now we'll go and do something safe and that's fine. But I think if you don't, and in any part, whether it's an actor or a writer or anything, why bring on people? You
Hmm.
bring people on because the sum of their parts, the film is going to be larger than the sum of their parts if the magic aligns. And the magic only aligns if you let people go and do their thing to begin with.
That's absolutely wonderful. Paul Leonard-Morgan, I want to thank you for taking time to talk to me again. This has been delightful. I cannot wait to watch the movie tomorrow. And it is the end of a very long work week for me tomorrow. So that's my reward.
Go grab a
Um,
beer and watch the ballerina slasher movie.
exactly. It is very 100% my jam. I hope you have a great rest of your day, sir. And again, thank you so much.
Nick, thanks so much.